Welcome to Real Talk with Raini, where I take your real life question and turn it into your next best step forward. Today, we are going to do things just a little bit differently. You are still going to get some great insight, my friend, but I am letting you in on a little conversation that one of my very best friends and I had. Recently, we embarked on this 2-week epic road trip, and we found ourselves kind of reflecting on the places that we had been, the experiences that we had had, and how they relate to our lives as a whole. So this particular day, we were talking about Forestiere Underground Gardens. Now, I know just by the sound of it, you're thinking, what does this have to do with my life, Raini? Well, I want you to listen in and then tell me if you have any insight after you eavesdrop on our conversation. So I've been thinking since we visited Forestiere Gardens a couple of days ago, how what he went through be really similar to what some of my clients experience. Let me get an explanation and then you give me your take on it. So he lived in Italy and he came here because he wanted to grow citrus, and he wound up digging, what was it, subway tunnels in Boston, where you're not going to grow citrus. He's thrown off. Then finally, after I think they said 3 years, he came out to California because he knew that citrus was not going to be growing in Boston. And then he was faced with the cost of living in Southern California, even back in the day, which cracks me up in a lot of ways. But he found land for
$1 an acre. He found a place in Fresno.
So he bought 80 acres for $80, and then discovered how terribly, terribly hot it was. So he was faced with that. So now he's changed his life up again, moved from Southern California, hotter than blazes, because he has dug these tunnels. He thinks, oh my goodness, we need to go underground because it's cooler there.
I think he actually started, first he realized when he started digging into this earth to create his citrus groves, he could only go down like 4 or 5 inches, and there was hardpan underneath that topsoil.
So another obstacle he runs into.
Right? So he realized, for me, I would have said, wait a minute, I'm just going to try and sell this property off and I'm just going to do something else.
Maybe somebody can farm rocks here.
Right, and
Right?
that hardpan, and I mean, it's something I had not heard of before. It is literally like a bedrock layer. I mean, there's no way that citrus trees' roots were going to go down below that. There was no way.
So then he decides, there's a way around this, right? I can do something with this. And you said that you saw places where he lived in Italy.
Right.
So when he was a young man, they had the stonework.
Right, stone arches. Yeah, even showed part of his home. Yes, he actually came from a wealthy family, but he was, according to the tours and things we read, he wanted to escape his father. And at this point, I would have thought, okay, I bought this land, there's only this much soil, all my plans are derailed, maybe going back to Italy sounds pretty good,
Right.
But he stuck it out.
And he just kept finding solutions for whatever was put in front of him, which I just found so inspiring, because he's really here on his own. He didn't have family here. He came over here because he had a vision, a dream. These obstacles kept dropping in front of him, but he kept getting creative, and he never lost sight of what his purpose, his passion really, really was. And so he decides he is going to get through this stinking layer of rock, and takes that rock, digs everything out. You're not going to believe what he does here. So he digs everything out, including that rock, and starts taking the rock and shaping it into bricks and creating this stonework that mimics his homeland.
So he created these rooms down below ground that were cooler in the summer, and that truly was his home. And he recycled a lot of
True Californian.
metal and iron and things like that to help hold up the roofs and give it stability.
I love when I saw that there was a buggy spring that was part of an arch on a window. And I thought, that is genius. Good for him. Yeah. And what did you say? Bed frames? A lot of bed frames used.
Bed frames.
What we would call rebar now, right? That's what he used it for, the strength and stability of this whole place. But then not only that, so he decides that, yeah, this is miserable heat and I'm going to figure out a way to get cool. But then I'm also going to fulfill my dream of having citrus. So he starts planting this citrus underground. And it's not only functional for him because he's creating his citrus, but the trees grow up to a place where it's super easy for him to pick. I loved envisioning him out there above ground just picking his oranges.
Didn't have to use ladders. Yes, these big open areas that the trees were able to grow and flourish in that sun. I love that.
And the way that he used the drainage system to capture the water, he was a conservationist, gosh, before there was conservation, right? I just got to thinking about how we could all learn something from each one of his obstacles, that he just always kept tapping into that purpose. Why did I come here? What am I here to do? And while that wasn't completely seen in his lifetime, right? Like, unfortunately, he got ill and passed before everything was completed. I think it's a beautiful life, and I think it's a beautiful representation of what we can do when we're faced with obstacles. We have a vision, we know where we want to go, what we want to do, but obstacles are put in our way. And then what do we do with them?
Right, I love his solution to still create a home, a comfortable home, a place where his citrus trees would thrive. And he also made it beautiful. We learned on the tour that he was a devout Catholic, and so he had the image of the cross on
throughout the tunnels.
And these big, I don't want to say containers, but he made these things that the trees grew.
Oh yeah, like the planters.
Big planters. Yeah. That was amazing to me.
And he kept experimenting and growing and improving his process without abandoning really where he was going.
Right? He wasn't perfect at first. We literally were able to see different rooms and different tunnels, that he became more adept at creating the stone and the mortar too. He didn't go out and buy concrete somewhere. His place wasn't perfect, but it was perfect for him, and he was happy. Eventually his brother and his family came. He had other family members, and he was very social. And even through this, like you said, at first it was a trial, it was a problem to solve. He had this vision. Not only is going to be a citrus farmer, he had great vision.
And one thing that I just thought of as we were going through that his whole arc of life is representative of how we can address things in our life. But also just the process of his digging this down. Because he had to dig everything down, he had to remove it, he had to restructure it in a way and build it all back up into something beautiful. And I think sometimes we have to do that in our own lives. We have to remove what's no longer working for us. We have to pull things away, take a look at what we have, and start putting it back together in a better.
Right, and I think I agree with that. Sometimes we just have to take those things out of our lives. But he actually used that for topsoil above ground. So I thought that was taking something that he couldn't use down below, but using it
to his benefit. Yeah. What other insight do you think we could learn from him in his life? Is there anything else?
Yes, we learned that he wasn't married. He didn't have any children. But who is managing and still promoting this is extended family.
That's true.
So he wasn't so obsessed with his passion that he neglected family relationships.
Those ties.
Right, he was still very social. So that people, after he passed, they didn't just fill in the hole and say, that was weird. They still honor him and this desire. It's not just a quirky tour. It is beautiful legacy, stick-to-itiveness, working with what you've got, and also the creating something beautiful.
When it doesn't look like you have anything beautiful to work with. Yeah. I love that. And I think we could all reflect on that in our own lives. We have to work with what we have in front of us, and in the end, we can make something greater and more beautiful and more impactful than we ever thought was possible, even with our original vision. Because we wouldn't have this if he just raised citrus. I just think it's amazing. I love it. Even on vacation, I love a great metaphor or analogy or whatever that is. You can educate me on what the actual term should be. But if you do think about the things that Baldassare Forestiere went through throughout his entire life and how he struggled from very, very early in his life. He had always had this vision of growing citrus. But he had to get to that point. And even once he did find his land, he kept coming upon those obstacles. But he was always keeping his purpose, his passion in mind, and thinking about ways that he could attain that goal. And I want you to think about that the next time you have an obstacle in your life. We can pull it out, look at it from a different perspective, and quite often we can come up with a solution that maybe is not what everyone anticipated. And that is okay, because Baldassare has proven that out-of-the-box thinking can be quite beautiful. And it can grow into something spectacular. So that is the next step for you, my friend, is when you are faced with an obstacle or you are finding yourself up against that brick wall, just think about how you can come up with a creative way to get around that and create something more beautiful than you ever imagined. I am Resourceful Raini, and here is to fresh starts and fearless moves. I will see you next time.